So is eBay stressing you out and you're trying to figure out how to deal with all this stress? Well, we're going to talk about today how to turn eBay stress into eBay success.
Woo woo.
Hey everyone, I am Prof Sales.
And I'm Kaaren of Just Ask Kaaren.
That's a great radio voice. So welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. On this channel, we talk about being a reseller, being an entrepreneur, your mindset for business, being in business for yourself, motivation, and all kinds of other topics as well. But we are glad that you are here. So we are broadcasting this show live at the moment. So we have a live chat room that's going. So if you'd ever like to join us, make sure you hit the little notification bell that's on this channel so you can be notified when we're live, and you can always jump in and be a part of the conversation in the moment. But you can also leave a comment or question that we will do our best to answer later after this show processes.
And we're here on a regular basis, Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'd love to have you join us because this, at least this week, has been a provocative week. Would you say so?
Provocative? Yes, I like that word. Provocative is a good word. So we are, if you watched our previous two shows from earlier this week, we talked about what stresses you on eBay and identifying that stress. And so today we're going to talk about some solutions, some strategies to deal with that stress and turn it into a positive.
Right. And where show 1 and 2 sort of, you know, like you said, they identify what do you have it? What does it look like? Where does it come from? Kind of, you know, get your feet in the stirrups, sit back in the saddle and get ready, because we've got a pretty detailed strategy, a lot of things, a lot to take in today on how you can deal with your stresses and, more importantly, turn them into successes. Suck is part of success. Who would have known?
So we have a checklist with 13 items on it, and today is Friday the 13th. So that and that was not by design. It just sort of turned out that way.
How fortuitous.
But the first thing we want to talk about, and we mentioned this in the previous two shows, is just acknowledging the source of your stress. And your stress could be, you know, slow sales, glitches, dealing with difficult customers, not sure what to buy, how to list things, how to ship things, whatever it is, just eBay processes in general. So that could be the source of your stress. At least that could be what the stress is. But the source is insecurity. Because the source is really this idea that you don't know if what you're doing will work. You don't know if it's the right course of action. You don't know if your results are the results you should be getting, or should you get, you know, some sort of greater results. I mean, usually being insecure about what's happening in your life is a surefire recipe for stress. I mean, it's hard to walk down the street and think, I am super confident and not stressed at all because I'm insecure about my business or my relationship or my physical health. Or, I mean, when we have insecurity about any part of our life, it is stressful by definition, for sure, because there's so many things that brings out in us.
And stressors, so that we're clear, stressors can be good and bad. You know, we talked Wednesday about how, you know, the stressors that we're targeting more than anything are the ones that are having a negative impact on your life, on your health, on your success. And we'll kind of later on in the list, I think we talk a little bit about the good ones. But it's important, especially if it's not having a good impact on you.
Yes.
And when we say you, we mean all parts of you, yourself, your business, your love life, your family life, your relationships. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, because I mean, guys, and here's an important point to remember in all this. And Kaaren kind of was touching on it. There will be stress. You know, it's not, I'm always skeptical when someone tells me I'm never stressed. And I'm like, do you really care about anything deep enough then? Because if you care about things, whatever it is, on a deep, deep level, however you want to define that, if you care about your relationships or your business or your health or your education or your job or whatever, Sometimes you're going to be stressed because you're going to have those insecurities about what to do and what's going on, and you're fearful. So if you are selling on eBay, you are going to have stress. Stress is not necessarily something you can ever really do away with, but it's something you can manage and keep from, destroying your results and your mindset. That's what we're really talking about here. So you have to acknowledge, first of all, that it's going to happen. It's just a fact of who we are. It's just a fact of everyday life, who we are as human beings. Stress is not something you can completely eliminate.
And what we're trying to help everyone with, and including ourselves, because we're going to talk about some specific things about what we're going through and how we're dealing with it. But we're helping you to recognize these things and how because it's your reaction, right?
Right.
So the stress and how it affects you is in large part how you react to it. So once you acknowledge it and realize it's probably not going to go away, again, there's some good ones, right?
Right. Sure.
It could be a stress that you're selling all your thingies or making a lot of money, or, and that gives, and I know that sounds crazy, but you have this money now. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Are you going to reinvest it in yourself or your business? Are you going to, buy that lake house or that pontoon boat? Or whatever.
That sounds good.
I know, right? But the goal here is to remove the bad stressors and get you in the mindset where you're being productive and just sort of streamlining your process.
Yes, absolutely. And as you were mentioning, goals and deadlines are stressors. And if you have, this idea that, they're in place to motivate you to take action on your part, but they can become, defeating if you say to yourself, well, I have this goal to list enough things to sell $1,000 worth of items this month on eBay. And if you get to 800 and you feel 20% less worthy, doing the prof math there, that can become a source of stress. Or it can be, I got to get there. I got to get there. I got to do this. I got to do this. And you can start putting other things in your life that you need to invest in on hold because you're so focused on meeting this one particular goal. So, they're stressors, but they don't have to be disruptive and damaging to the point a lot of times we allow them to be. So we want to talk about what you invest your time and energy into, because this is really the meat and bones of this particular video, to reduce stress, because we've got a lot of points on this that we kind of came up with and researched and talked about and used our own experience. It was sort of an amalgamation of all those things.
And you're talking about investments, like it's not just money. When we say, how are you investing in yourself? It has to do with, what are you doing to make your existence different, better, smarter, whatever. And it's not always, I think we would agree that we're at a point in life where it's not what motivates us now is not the same as it was 20 years ago. We're kind of taking this, we've purposefully been taking a 30,000 foot view, right?
Yeah.
Some personal stuff with our families that are going on that are kind of getting us to look at, what do we want the next 40 years to look like?
Yeah, because, here's a reality, gang. If you're stressed about your eBay business on whatever level, that stress may sort of get into your mind and it start this whole sequence of thoughts that tell you, well, you just need to go do this, or you just need to go do that, or go in this direction or that. But the reality is this: when you're stressed and you recognize, and we all recognize the symptoms of it, it can be physical symptoms that are really strong, like shortness of breath. Panic attacks, for instance, mimic heart attacks very closely. Like they can actually feel like a heart attack, but you're not actually having one. But when you start feeling all that stress coming on, you have to invest some time and energy in doing things to de-stress you. And here's where I think a lot of us in the reselling community go wrong, because this is where I get upset about, not upset, but I get frustrated by this mindset. Oh, you just need to work harder at it. Sometimes you need to stop working at it.
Take a break. Go for a walk.
Because I'm a Carolina Panthers fan, and I was watching. Our team lost last night to the Eagles, and I was watching the game, and you know, it was a frustrating game to watch because they were close, but they couldn't quite get over the hump and win there at the end. And I thought about it like, if the coach of the Carolina Panthers today and the next day and the next day, because I think their next game is next Sunday, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, if he said, you know what, we're just going to practice 8 hours a day. We're just going to practice 8 hours a day until we get better so we don't lose the next game. That would destroy any chance they had of winning. Why? Because they would be exhausted. And they need a little time to sort of decompress from the loss. You need some time to reflect on it. You need a day, which a lot of pro football teams will take the next day off after a game because it's a very physical game as well. You need some time for the body to rest, but also the mind. So if you're not going to do anything to ever de-stress yourself, any of the activities that you like, you run the risk of burning yourself out, become even more stressed. Even if you start getting the results you want, you've got to have some ways to do things that do not depend on getting specific results, where it's like, oh, I'm going to go take a walk to reduce my stress, but I got to make sure I got to walk this far in this amount of minutes. Just like that becomes a stress in and of itself sometimes. You know, maybe it's just like, I just need to go decompress.
Well, and here's the thing. When you sign up, when you commit to yourself to give yourself that decompression time, you're not really good at this, but you have to do it whether you feel like doing it or not. If you recognize that you need just a moment to sort of regroup, or if, you know, walking every day is going to be important to you, then you're going to walk. Yeah. Sorry, it was subliminal, but yeah, not so much. It was a little direct. But if walking, if your health is important, then by golly, I don't care if it's raining outside. I don't care if it's hot or there's mosquitoes or it's cold or whatever. If it's important, just do it. You can't make excuses, because that's just going to have this other sort of, what's it called? Snowball effect.
Right.
So you just have to just do it. You kind of have to.
No, you absolutely do. And I think the funny thing is your productivity will increase while your stress will decrease. Like going back to the sports analogy, a lot of pro teams, you know, have embraced this mentality of having deliberate practice. It's better to focus 15 or 30 minutes on one key component and be very focused on it than to meander around and sort of give, you know, mediocre effort over 3 or 4 hours, even if it's over a lot of topics and a lot of different components of the game. Same thing here. Like, you're better off if you could go, like, let's say you want to get up 10 listings today. You're better off taking the next 2 hours or hour and a half or however long it's going to take you to do that and just be super focused. Turn off the phone, turn off social media, turn off the distractions, find a way to do it without other people interrupting you, and just do that and then be done with it. But if you say, well, I'm just going to get 10 listings done sometimes between the time of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. today, like, that's almost setting you up to fail, because you're turning what's probably a 2-hour task into a potential 9-hour task. So what ends up happening is you don't do something the first hour, or you do a little bit this hour and then get, you know, chase a shiny object over here this hour.
Squirrel? What?
You know, you're better off sort of being deliberate about it and focusing in on it for a smaller segment of time than trying to stretch out and say, I'm just going to grind the whole day today. Like, most people can't do that, and they certainly can't do it at a high level. So,
well, and it's kind of like the whole, and I got the phrase right now, finally. So, jack of all trades, master of none. At some point you can't just spread it all, because the thinner you spread yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely agree. So a big part of the secret, guys, is if you want to reduce your stress about eBay, whatever it is, you got to focus on doing things that aren't eBay. Like, sometimes reducing your stress about eBay is not about, you know, let's say it's Friday, and today your goal for this 168 hours this week was to get 50 listings up, and you're on Friday and you've gotten 12. So you're a little behind the curve. And you're starting to feel really stressed about that, and it's spilling over into other parts of your life. You would be better off taking 30 minutes to go take a walk, clear your mind, and then come in here and focus for 2 solid focused hours to try to maybe get some of those listings done, than you are to thinking, I'm just going to sit here at this computer all day until it's done. Like, you're almost better off a lot of times to get your mind fresh and ready, and your body fresh and your body ready to do these things, than you are to sit there in the stress and think, oh my God, how's this going to happen? And, you know, you're snapping at the wife or the husband or the kids, or on the phone to people, or people at work, you know, or you're sitting at work thinking, I got to go home. I can't even eat dinner. I need to just get this done. It's like, that doesn't really work for people. Like, if you can't figure out ways to get it done, you know, during the time frame you had, you need to rewind and say, well, what happened on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that got me to this Friday point? Was Friday a realistic expectation given what went on this week? Did things come up I couldn't anticipate? Should I maybe reschedule myself on those days to have this focus? And I think a lot of times that's what happens to us. It's because other things got made priorities earlier in the week schedule. And then so we get to sort of the end and we're scrambling, and that's stressful to be scrambling, I think. So, you know, just take that for what it's worth.
And the next section is just sort of it's like a section within a section, general tips on how to turn your stress into success, right? There's some things that whether, I guess it could be argued that whether it's eBay or anything for that matter, there's certain things that you can do that will help you do better, live better, breathe better, whatever, sell better. And one of the biggies that, you know, and again, we're going to talk about things maybe not a lot of people are talking about, but are you getting enough sleep?
Most people, most Americans, which is, you know, where we live, but I'm sure it's this way in some other countries as well, do not get enough rest. I know 2 people who don't. And we don't. And we are the cause of it. Like, we do it to ourselves. So we've started, you know, evaluating some ways in which we can do that better. When you don't get enough sleep, it cascades through everything, even things you don't even anticipate. It affects your health. It affects your mindset. It affects your energy levels. I mean, it is completely disruptive to you. And most adults struggle to get enough sleep for lots of reasons. You know, taking electronics to the bedroom, bad idea for lots of reasons. Not kind of establishing a bedtime and sort of, you know, this, oh, well, we'll stay up and watch one more show or when we feel like it, blah, blah, blah. Not having, you know, if your bedroom is not, if it's too bright, like if there's a lot of light in it or sunlight coming through in the morning, or it's not the right temperature. I mean, all these things, and we've talked about some of these before, they affect your sleep. And if you're not sleeping, I promise you, everything in your life will suffer. Like, sleeping is huge. It's probably the most underestimated aspect of our entire lives in terms of outlook on, you know, our positivity, our physical health, all those things. And most of us get it wrong.
True dat.
True dat. You're like,
so set times to do whatever the thingies are. In this case, we're talking about selling on eBay, but make yourself a schedule. Like, I know, and let me say this. And I was talking to some mompreneurs, anyway, moms that are entrepreneurs, right?
There you go.
And moms that are full-time stay-at-home moms, that's hard for them to do.
It is.
So let's just say that, you know, I get that there needs to be some flexibility and some wiggle room there. But if you can come up with a set time and structure for yourself, that creates a sense of security and productivity as well. So make a set time. Do your best to set yourself a little schedule.
Yeah.
And because remember, we've talked about you are your own most honest, trustworthy accountability partner. You're in this with yourself. You know, you can say whatever you want to say to your partner or the people on the social media. Don't even get me started on the public face that a lot of people want to show. But set yourself a schedule and try to stick with it.
Yeah, and finding some sort of exercise routine. Programming note: we are not doctors, nor nutritionists, nor physical health experts.
We're eBayologists. Mixologists.
But there is nothing, there is no literature you're going to find out there that's going to say sitting around and doing nothing is good for your health. It's not. Sitting in a desk all day is not good for your health. It's just not. So, you know, sitting on the couch, whatever. So getting up and moving, finding some sort of exercise you can do that fits. Maybe you may have physical limitations. I understand that. We all do. But finding something that you can do on a regular basis makes a huge difference. We always see it when we get away from what we normally do exercise-wise.
Wow.
It's a mistake. It is a mistake. Like, and it's a mistake we've had to learn a few times now, honestly. But it's just one of those things, like, you've got to make it important. It's part of the deal. You know, it's part of being, it's part of figuring out how to be successful at eBay, but also just life in general, you know, staying active. I don't care what it is, who you are, what you're doing. Even if you just get out and walk to the end of the block and back, you know, I mean, just move. I mean, it has tremendous benefits, especially for reducing your stress. Devote set times to eBay and don't get distracted. That, to me, is probably the toughest one for some reason. And I don't know why, but you may be better off for saying at 6 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, not 2 o'clock because you're watching the show, but at 6 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to devote 1 hour to eBay. And sometimes it's going to be photographs. Sometimes it might be sourcing. Sometimes it might be listing, you know, whatever it is. I'm going to do that. And you stick to it. Like, that is your schedule. That is your schedule. You own that. You come up with it, whatever works for you in your case. Maybe it's later. Maybe it's earlier. I don't know. Maybe it's more time. It's less time. Routine. I mean, how many times do we have to learn the lesson, Kaaren, that human beings are creatures of routine? Mm. And when we don't have routine, what happens when you don't give children a routine? Like little kids, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Or yeah, you'll learn really quick what happens. The answer to that, when you do have a routine and you change it. You change one slight thing about it, and you're, you know, pleasant 2, 3, 4, 17-year-old, you know, there's going to be a reaction and a consequence and
it changes. Like, and guess what? As you as an adult, you're no different. It's not like you suddenly grew out of that. I mean, we do better with routines and structure. Come up with your own structure. I mean, it's not like I'm giving you one. Just come up with your own. But whatever it is, come up with it and stick to it, especially for eBay.
I'm going to say the next one.
Oh, go for it.
And this is going to be hard and a little ironic when I say this to everybody, but reduce or eliminate the time that you spend on social media. And okay, I'll be the mom that loves all of you, that delivers this message, and my intentions are golden. But we were talking just today about, you know, what return are we getting when we sit there?
Oh my gosh.
and some adults are no better than kids. You know, we criticize kids for being on Snapchat all the time, or and I think that some teenagers actually have a bit better handle on it than some of us do. But, you know, you sit there. My own grandmother, bless her heart, said that, you know, an hour and a half goes by, I've been flipping through, you know, the Facebook stories or the Instagram posts or YouTube or whatever. I mean, what do you
get? Yeah, because what was I said to you? I said, imagine if I took all the time and energy I devoted to social media, say over the last 2 years, and was somehow able to put that in some sort of calculator and say, all right, it was this many hours and this much time, and what was my rate of return? I honestly think I could have done almost anything else and gotten a better rate of return. Almost anything, with a few exceptions. Maybe watching television wouldn't have been as great a rate of return. But, and it's not that it's not that you can't ever have a guilty pleasure. I'm not saying that and you want to jump on Facebook for a little bit, but the more you allow that stuff to take over your life, the less happy you tend to be, the less productive you are, the more likely you are to get engaged in petty arguments and fights that don't really matter or mean anything to anybody. And I find that the more of that I turn off, the more easy I am to turn on to things that are positive and good for me and good for our relationship and all these other aspects of our lives, because you've only got so much time and capacity, right? So if you're spending it on all that stuff, something else is suffering. You're investing your time and energy over here. You can't invest that same time and energy over there. That's just the way it works. So consider it. Consider turning it off for like 30 days. See what happens. Even if you have to turn off YouTube, you know, and here I am on YouTube saying that, you know, if that's a source of distraction, you're not learning from it, if it's not contributing something positive to you in your life, why are you doing it? You know, what is it getting you?
And doing it to excess. I mean, I know there's a lot of like funnies in the chat and everything, and we're not talking about the occasional this or but how many people have been, you know, we click on this photo from so-and-so, and then a suggested thing comes up, and then the next thing you know, we're like 6 feet under, you know, cat videos from Yugoslavia or
which
something.
are funny.
Yeah, and
let's be honest,
and hey, there's a study that says, you know, puppies make us happier and keep our heart healthy just by the sheer warm fuzziness of it all. But you know, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about, you know, maybe excess. I'll say it. It's just not what's important.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And some people had some comments in the chat and so on, you know, about social media being a waste of time. And you know, I think it is overall. I don't know that it really, you know, buys you that much. So consider it, you know, and we're going to talk. I didn't want to forget this part. Let me write this down. Sorry, I had to make a programming note.
Oh, programming note. And another general tip, and this has to do with discipline, is delegate to yourself.
There's an idea. Delegate tasks to yourself. Go ahead. Sorry.
So, and you said it last show, is you need to be able to say no to yourself. Because remember, saying yes to something is saying no to something else, or saying no to something. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be able to discipline yourself, delegate tasks to yourself, and other things, right?
Right.
It's important to prioritize. And guess what? You make priorities, and what that's going to do to your efficiency, it's going to maximize it.
Yeah, think if you were a company and you had employees. But in this case, your only employee for doing things is you. Now, you don't want to act like an employee all the time. You have to be a business owner as well. But I'm saying in the moment when you have specific things you know that have to be done, say, all right, employee Jason is going to do this from 3 p.m. to 3:30. From 3:30, he's going to do this, and it should take this long. And, you know, you can really do that even with, you know, your eBay business, and sort of plan it out. And you're going to find that, you know, maybe that time frame worked, maybe it didn't, maybe it was enough time, maybe it wasn't enough time to do certain things. But it's a great tip for kind of figuring out your workflow in general. Number 9, is this number 9? Yeah, I think we are. Oh my gosh.
We're on number 9.
Working smarter. I like this. Working smarter by avoiding perfectionism and procrastination.
I am so like the whole thing with me and starting this, you know, whatever road I'm going down with my own YouTube channel. I was my own bottleneck. Perfectionism and procrastination were my biggest hurdles, fears, obstacles, however you want to look at it.
Yeah, perfectionism is a tough one. And we find that sometimes with videos and so on, not the live ones like this one we do, when you start editing, and oh my gosh, you can eat up a lot of time trying to get just something just perfect. Because we don't have the training and knowledge about a lot of these areas to be super fast at it. And some of these things just aren't super quick anyway. But it's kind of like writing the perfect description of an item on eBay. There is no perfect description. Like, that only exists in your mind, this idea of perfect. There just are descriptions. The guy we saw this morning, you know, the wood carver guy. Remember I said, oh, I guess there's no way for me to get this perfect. And he's like, nope, there isn't. So you can't get it perfect. There is no perfect. So you gotta be on the watch for that and just avoid it. Like, it's not worth it.
So we're doing our part, like part of reducing our stress. We had a date this morning.
We did.
We went to an art commune. I don't know.
Well,
it was kind of like, it had this vibe, right? But we went
and art gallery,
and there was a silversmith, a chainsaw master,
artist, makes up with chainsaws like out of wood.
And Rose, the gal that puts the whole thing on, is a glass aficionado, and we made things out of clay, and it was really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. It was very de-stressing. There was nothing stressful about it.
Yeah, and I'll publicly commend and thank you without getting too mushy. But it's on a Friday in the middle of the day before which we have this 2 p.m. commitment.
Yeah.
And it might, we made it work. And I can't tell you how much we needed whatever happened this morning just to step out and do something different.
It was awesome. Yeah.
It was awesome.
If you guys feel like you always need to catch up, that can be a source of stress. You want to talk about it?
This one is kind of near and dear to me, because if you're always, think about this, if you're always feeling like if you're making a list and you're never checking everything off of your list, you're creating stress. You're the stressor, you're the problem. Because I think what we're doing, and maybe if your list exceeds your abilities or your 168,
right,
then you're creating unrealistic expectations for yourself. I mean, that's all there is to it. We can't do all the thingies. So why not, make a schedule for yourself or more realistic expectations and work towards those goals instead.
Which flows right into this next one, which is limit the amount of tasks you take on eBay. Limit the amount. I know that sounds crazy. Like, I need to work harder. No, you don't. You need to be able to work and have a sense of accomplishment. That is more important. We
talked about that last show. Celebrate your small victories. If it's just you, if you're in it to win it all by yourself, and you see us a couple of times, and I'll do my best to pump you up, but you have to be able to see. And for a lot of us, it's visual. Look at it on a list. It's not enough just to check it off. Create this accomplishments or milestones list for yourself so that you're constantly reminded that, hey, I did good today. I got a gold star this week.
I mean, if you can create this enormous list of things to do, but it's better just to create a shorter, smaller list and get that accomplished than creating this huge list that, like, a milestones, accomplishments like Karen's talking about are great. But to say that I'm going to sit down today and I'm going to do these 27 things in my eBay business, you're not. Nope. And then how are you going to feel when you only get 3 of them done? Oh, I missed on 24, but I got these. I mean, you're going to feel bad because you're going to say, I didn't get it done. Well, you started out with an unrealistic goal. And I think, that was probably excessive, 27. But even sitting down and saying you're going to do 10 things a lot of times, a lot of days, is not realistic for most of us for all kinds of reasons. Start with 1. I know that sounds crazy, but if you say to yourself, all right, tomorrow's Saturday, I have some time to work on my eBay business. I'm going to get this one thing done. And maybe the one thing is I'm going to list 5 items. I'm going to go source this new store. I'm going to go hit this yard sale. I'm going to take photos of those 6 things. That's it. Like, get that one thing done. And if you find you're consistently getting the one done and you feel like you have more time and energy to devote to your business, move it up to 2, maybe up to 3, whatever. And you're going to find your sweet spot there where you're like, I really can't get more done than this in a given day.
Well, and just another disclaimer here. We're not saying toss out the 100 item list and make it just a 1. You you hit it right, like right was in my brain. We're not giving you a free pass here. You still have to make goals and lists for yourself that are realistic. And it's interesting to me that you talk about, just do one thing. Longest journey starts with what? 1 step. And how often, especially in the reseller community, do we meet brand new resellers that have done all the thingies, right? That they think they've gone and bought a million things. They have their lights, they have their photos, they have this, they have all of these things, all of these resources, and yet they haven't made a single listing.
Right.
So for you, that first listing might be the biggest obstacle, but once you get over it, then you're prepared for the success of getting over it again and again and again. So you're right. You have to find your sweet spot.
It's important. It encourages you. And guess what? That helps de-stress you. So, I mean, it's got all these benefits. Let other people have their own assessment of what they need you to do. That can be a source of stress in eBay that a lot of us take on ourselves, where we say, I'm going to go on the Facebook page and this reseller group, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to ask people, should I blah, blah, or should I do this or do that? And which direction should I go? And you get, you're going to get opinions. You're going to get plenty of opinions. But the reality is those people don't know you. They don't know your situation. They don't know where you've come from or where you really want to go. They don't know your limitations or your capabilities. That is like the wrong way to approach it, I think, for so many people. You are basically playing the comparison game when you do that. You're letting them set your goals for you, your task for you. And that's never going to feel like the right fit. Even if you go and accomplish what they do, you're going to say, but I really think I should have done this. You're still going to be second guessing yourself. I think that's a trap. Don't fall for it. It doesn't make sense. You can learn from other people's examples. I'm not suggesting that. But ultimately, they cannot tell you how you should run your business.
Well, and here's the thing. How often have you either, I'm more on the receiving end of this, but how often has someone come to you and asked for your advice and yet they don't take it? Like they do the exact opposite. I think you're setting yourself up, especially that's brilliant. So especially in these Facebook groups in particular, where you put a question out into the universe, you put this, open-ended, well, this X happened, and then what do I do? Analysis paralysis, people. You're going to get a bazillion responses, and I think that's going to muck up the water even more. Right. At some point, you're just going to have to commit and act, right?
Absolutely.
I want to do number 13.
It's all yours.
Okay. So the last one, and then we're going to talk about questions and everything else on this Friday the 13th. But if you've given it your all, if you've done all of the thingies, if you've done all you can do, proactive, reactive, etc., then at some point you're going to have to set it free. Let it go, let it go. I had to sing. I always sing. There's always a day I have to sing. But at some point, really, you have to just let it go. And what will be, will be. And good, bad, or otherwise, there's not, like, you can't continue to stress over something, the what ifs or the, if I had done it this way, or if I had only this, or you will make yourself crazy. And again, you're inflicting this stress upon yourself that you don't need to. Oh my gosh, this was a long list. Does that was this helpful at all? Did you pick up on anything?
Well, a little homework for you guys here.
More homework.
So try this. Take some time over the next week and journal what you spend your time on. It's very interesting when you start breaking down. Maybe you break it down every hour, every half hour, maybe half hour is reasonable. What did I spend my time on? Like literally what you spent your time on. If you spent your time sleeping for 6.5 hours, put that in there. Like put it in, say, all right, from 11 p.m. to 6:30 or whatever, 7, I slept. From 7:30 to 8, I did this. From 8 to 8:30, I did this. And then at the end of the week, kind of tally up where your time really went. It might be surprising.
Let's just commit to everybody that's listening now or in the chat a week from today. That'll be part of next Friday's show. Let's talk about it.
We'll come up and see where your time really goes. I bet you're going to have some surprising revelations. Now, remember that when you start tracking something that you're doing, that can change your behavior a little bit. So it's important to give yourself probably a week to do it. A month would probably be better, but a week is enough time to where you kind of start. The first day or two, you might be like, oh, I'm going to be super focused and organized and efficient and do this. And then you kind of slip back into your old habits. But really sit down, every hour or two, write down what you spent that time on. And let's see what happens at the end of these 7 days and where you're at. I think it's going to be an interesting experiment. And I know this is not a new and novel idea, but it might be new and novel to you. So I'm really curious how it will turn out for people.
Be honest and just as natural as possible, because you said something about how you went a different way than I thought you would. But doctors will have us chart, how often do you smoke? How often do you drink? What are you eating? Right? And when we're tasked formally with that sort of accounting, we kind of fib a little bit. So try to be as honest as possible so that when we get back together, we can talk about it in as good of terms and realistically as possible.
I saw a show the other day, a TED Talk, where the speaker was talking about when people were asked to estimate how much they worked. There was one group, a chunk of them, that estimated they worked about 75 hours a week, but what they really did and they really worked was like 50. So it was a big distinction, or a big difference between the two. And I think we do that sometimes. We're like, oh, I spend a lot of time on these things that I think are really good for me, and these things are not so good for me. I don't spend any time on those, when in reality it's more in the middle.
Yeah, so like I sat here and I listed for 4 hours, but I went and I watched the cat video. Or, you know, I did a video chat.
Check my email, scroll through Facebook.
Lauren and I did a video chat and cleaned a bunch of shoes. Hey, that's still productive. And hey, we still need to schedule that, by the way, girl.
Yeah.
But so let's do questions. And I caught one from earlier. Can we start with this one? And if Tracy is still in the chat, she asked about how, and I should have grabbed him because Ben just got home from school, but Tracy asked how Ben handled the great jean stealing of 2017. Dun, dun, dun.
Stealing?
Well, I mean, some people kind of took it.
You're the one who stole them. You went and got them.
It's fine. So Ben is part of, we all live here together. We exist together. We're all part of the business together. And actually, when Ben got home from school that day and we said, hey, man, this is what happened before.
Hey, man.
And that's how
like
it
we
went.
were in the 60s. Hey, man.
We're watching Mad Men and all they do is smoke. So, but
we don't smoke.
Jason, no, we don't. So that we're clear. And yeah, so anyway, Jason, began this conversation with Ben. And before Jason could even finish, Ben's like, so did you send him the jeans? Like it just made sense for Ben.
He's like, you sell them.
That's what you do. If somebody offered him money for his shoes or his backpack or whatever, he would probably give it. But no, his response was gracious and exactly and so it was cool. So Jason's not in trouble. Ben's not mad. Jason doesn't have to sleep on the couch. It's all good in the hood over here.
Sam Dallas asked, where do you search for keywords? I'm new around here. So I'm assuming, Sam, that you're talking about keywords for listing items on eBay, since we're talking about eBay in the show. You don't really have to search for them anywhere different than the item itself, because most people are going to search for things, if that's your question, they're going to search for things based on what it is, whether it's the model, it's the description, or it's the color, the year it came out, how many gigabytes the hard drive has, whatever the specific type of item is you're talking about. Is it a button-down shirt? Are they Levi's or the American Eagle? That's where people start searching for things. Think about how you would search for something. You would search for a particular item, not using like adjectives, because adjectives aren't really things people search by. They search by specific item descriptions, descriptors, things that specifically apply to that item. So think of how you would search for that item that you're looking to list. What would you type in Google search engine? And chances are that's a pretty good list of what you would type in eBay's as well. And that's going to become part of your title. You don't need to put extra words in there. You don't need to put words in there that don't have anything to do with the actual specifics of the item. Because people don't care about that stuff really. Like it's not how most people are going to search for it, but those other words, they will search by that. So
yeah,
hopefully that helps.
Think about it as just the facts, ma'am. I mean, just cut right to it and don't, and you can also, a very easy way, especially when you're first getting started, is when you're doing comps and searches on eBay, look at what's sold. And just read, like look at things that are similar or identical to your item. I'm not sure what you're selling, but look at listings that have been previously put up. That's not to say I would take all of those to the bank because there's other reasons, but that's a good place to learn. And if you're needing to go to a thesaurus for you're probably looking at it completely.
What's another word for thesaurus?
There isn't one, smarty pants.
That was funny.
Word book.
Stephen Wright. Stephen Wright jokes.
Please don't start, because then there's going to be this flood of, what was that one that I don't even, no, never mind. Hey, no.
Well, one other thing too on Sam's point that's good for anybody listening, and a lot of people might already know this, but not everybody does. Don't put anything in that title or the keywords that are not part of the item.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's misleading your customer, and it could be considered keyword spamming by eBay, and you don't want to do that. Like if I'm selling Levi's, I don't want to put true religion in the title just so I can get somebody searching for true religion to see my pair of Levi's. That doesn't make sense.
And sometimes if you get caught putting the wrong brand name in your listing, you might get in trouble for it.
Yes. Krillin, thank you so much for the super chat, guys. Krillin has a great channel over there with a lot of haul videos and so on. And he's a great friend of the show, and says, why people put men's in listing? Isn't it automatic? Oh, you mean in the title of it? You know, that's interesting. Like I always list jeans with men's or women's in the title. And I don't know if I get a lot of benefit from that or not. I'm not sure.
I think it's a reference thing more for us because we use the same title in the inventory. So maybe it just became second nature. I have another one. So it's 3 characters. So let me just, it's 3 characters, 4 characters, right?
Sorry, Clarence Ninja's making Stephen Wright jokes. He's got the best. I got a whole list of them. Go ahead.
We'll have to read that after this. But so MENS, because you're not going to put punctuation in it. It's just another thing,
gotcha,
just letters. Yeah. But NWT, new with tags or new without tags. That's another school of thought that if it's, you know, how eBay changed and now it comes up as pre-owned or new or whatever, you're wasting 3 characters.
You're wasting 3 characters. Like are people really going to search NWT a buyer? Like that seems weird to me. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I'd want to see the data on it, but somebody can say, hey, I want a shirt that's NWT, which would be Northwest Territory, actually. Now think about it.
Yes,
all right. That's an interesting question there. So yeah, so just, you know, consider that. I found 7 Fam Dojo, but consider listing as men's. No, don't do that because they're not a good idea. They're not men's.
Well, and you might as well read Clarence Ninja's very witty reply. So I was speed reading and I hit a bookmark.
Yes. Let's see. Do you start your listing titles with brand first or you start with men's or women's? I start with brand because I think that with jeans, for instance, and even shoes, as we have behind us on these racks, I think a lot of times people start with brand. Then you could argue about what they put after that or what else they're going to put with that. They might put men's, they could put men's Levi's or, you know, men's 7 for all, or men's 7 for all mankind or women's Vigas. They could do that too. I don't know if it makes any difference or not, the order. I'm not sure on that. I think the jury's probably out on that. Theoretically, it shouldn't make a difference. But that doesn't mean it doesn't make a difference because eBay is a little weird about those things. You know, doesn't matter which of those comes in what order as long as they're all there. So
yeah, so JS Reseller, that exact thing has happened to people before. And it's eBay wouldn't let them list Cole Haan shoes with the Nike Air in the title, although they are. And we've sold those shoes before, Nike Air soles. And yes, it is really, really
I think you can get away, Jay Reseller, with putting Air in the title. But don't put Nike. So because Cole Haan, you know, was for a while they were being, I guess Nike was making the Cole Haan, or maybe it's the other way around. I can't remember, but
I think they're Cole
but now
Haan
they're
shoes.
not. But now they're not. So they don't want it listed that way. Somebody we knew just had one of their listings pulled down for that. But I guess you could just put Cole Haan in the title. It's kind of tricky with those because it really is what the shoe is, but now they're not together, those two companies. So
separations are so difficult sometimes.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Wait, why don't you do an example just real quick? What would the title be for your favorite pair of jeans? Just go like how you would do it. Just rattle off the word sizes, however you would put it.
All right. Well, we'll use, somebody said 7 for all mankind earlier. So, and they said Dojo. So 7 for all mankind jeans, Dojo, size 28, women's stretch. You know, that might be a title. And you could put other things there too if you wanted. Like if they were, I don't know what else you'd really put on those, honestly. I really can't think of too. I mean, you could put the composition, but I don't know if that really matters. I mean, you can put that in the item specifics. Anything you put in the item specifics technically shouldn't, you know, should already come up when people search. Like if you put their size 28 in the item specifics, theoretically, it doesn't matter if that's in the title, but I always like to put them in both. Somebody said color. Well, I mean, they're jeans, so
but
they're
yeah,
blue.
sometimes color might matter. So
yeah, if they were,
maybe so.
Yeah, if it was a different color pair of jeans, inseam or length, you could. With men's, it's more important with the inseam, I think, because that's how men's jeans typically are sized, with the waist and the inseam. But with women's, it's like,
if it's a long, a short, or a petite, that sort of sets it apart from just regular, maybe like an L.
A lot of women's jeans are kind of default to that 30-inch inseam. And there can be some variations. Some brands will be an inch off either way. And then if it's a short or long, it's going to be, different too. But a lot of them are right around 30 inches in inseam length.
Continue on that. That's a good question.
Would you put both 7 and 7 in the title, or does eBay result bring up both? I actually put 7, the number 7, for all mankind, because 7 jeans are different.
Yeah, the word SEVEN is not the same as 7 fam. We also don't abbreviate. There are some people that abbreviate for all mankind becomes FAM. Not your daughters becomes NYDJ.
Yeah, that's a little tricky sometimes, I think, because like if you put fam in the title, does someone searching for something with the word family come up? It might, but if you put for all mankind and it sees that string, it's probably going to get the right buyer to it. And that's really what you want, is the right buyers coming to it. Not a huge deal, I think, either way, but I don't know. Let's see.
That's what Mark does. Oh, and hey, Mark, wake up. You need to make money.
She just did a
My
thing there.
name is Blurry Face, and I don't care what you think. I told him I was going to sing for him today.
Great. Color is very important. The problem, Daisy, is that color is tricky to put in there.
Oh, color, because, so one, we have devices that translate color differently.
And you have 2 of them in your head.
Right. And I'm getting to that. People are colorblind, so that's another thing to consider. And color is also a very subjective thing because of the whole how we see color. So we do not use words like what's my favorite color?
You know what I tend to use? I will put, like, if it's a lighter wash, I will use that from the drop down in the item specifics. If it's most other washes, I'm just going to put medium. If it's distressed, I'll put that. That's a choice. If it's black and gray, that's a choice. If it's a color jean, like it's yellow or something, I can put that.
Primary or secondary colors, you should be okay.
Even there, it's tricky, like, because red can look orange.
True.
Very easily to a lot of people, and vice versa. Because somebody asked earlier, was this my pumpkin colored shirt? I can assure you, if you saw this shirt in person, you would say it's not exactly pumpkin colored.
Pumpkin.
True story. It's not pumpkin colored. It's a little different. I wouldn't say this is pumpkin colored. It's a little different.
It's like orange, like traffic cone orange.
Yeah, it's not as dark of an orange as pumpkins tend to be. So that's a perfect example. This polo, if I could put it was orange, but this is what I do, guys, and you can do whatever you want. I don't think it's kind of a minor subject overall, but honestly, take photos, make sure that the color looks the same in all of them, even if you don't know for certain it's exactly how the item looks, and then tell the person, hey, these are the photos. Like, I'm going to let you decide on the color because everybody sees it a little differently, and I hate to put in there that it's orange and you think it's red, or I put in there it's red and you think it's orange, and then you get a return because the person said, well, you said these were red.
Yeah.
And I think they're orange. Well, just say, hey, look at the photos. I'm sorry. I don't want to tell you what color it is when you might perceive it differently, because people do.
Yeah. There's a couple of that's a word one and then the one after that.
Any difference between putting size or SZ in the title, or large or LG? I don't know. I'd probably write it out if you could. I think it's clearer. But I don't know that it really makes any difference, Scott. Again, put in the item specifics. That's important because that is directly going to their algorithm. Let's see here. What brand is your best selling? And as though I were to only sell one brand. Well, Levi sells the most. I mean, they sell the most if that's your definition of best selling. They do. I mean, they're the biggest brand on eBay in terms of jeans, no question.
We just did a show on top 11 brands, right?
Yes. Did you buy that shirt from me last month? No. I've had it for a while. I've probably had it for a year or so. Looks peach. It is
peachy.
It is closer to peach, and it's partly the lights. You know, this might be a good example. I wonder what happens if I turn these off for a second. You know, now you can see it change. Turn that one off, would you? Go ahead. It's all right. So let's do a little test. So now what color is my shirt? Is it peach or is it orange? Right.
It's like neon.
Right. So anyway, we can turn it back on. But you know, that's a perfect example. We just turn off the lights and it's fairly dark here in the house. It's kind of a cloudy, overcast day. Definitely pumpkin, looks more orange. Apricot, melon, carrot. Yeah, I mean, it's like
tangerine. It's tangerine.
Oh man, color on items is just crazy to try to figure out. Atomic tangerine. I like that.
I like that one too.
It could be nuclear peach though. I mean, you know, you're going like physics on us, so we'll go there too. It's a spooky tone Halloween style. Ooh. I know, right? It's just tricky.
I should have worn my pumpkin. I have a pumpkin shirt. It will come out over the next couple of weeks. And we are going to dress up for Halloween show again.
Yeah, so if you have a costume request, you can put them in the comments down below. Really? Not saying we'll do it, but...
And there's witnesses. There's 100 witnesses to you saying that.
So there'll be more than that after people watch this video. Tangelo. That's a pretty funny color too. I don't even know what color that is, but it's a funny name for a color.
It's a thing.
I'm sure it is. It's just a funny name to me.
It's a citrus, a tangelo.
What is it? They say the human eye can see like 20 million colors or something crazy like that, and shades and variations. So
a lot of people can, but some people can't.
Well, but you can still see a lot, even if you just see them, you know, quote unquote, incorrectly. But anyway. All right, guys. So listen, thanks for coming out today. Kaaren, what should they do if they enjoyed the show and the content?
They should tell us. No, there's a thumbs up, there's a subscribe, there's a reminder, and share. Don't keep us all to yourselves, because there might be someone out there that needs a little pep in their step, a little guidance on how to do this thing a little bit more streamlined, and we are here to help with that.
Yep. So, and you guys, if you think about it, try to keep a journal of your time over the next 7 days. Let's see what you come up with.
We're going to recap next Friday for sure.
Yeah, break it out. Let's see what you spent time on. It might be interesting. Just write out, you know, spent this much time doing this. You can categorize it later. So.
And be honest. I'll know if you're not.
She will too. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us today. It was an awesome show. Rewind it if you haven't watched at the beginning so you can see the subject from beginning to end. And we're really thankful you guys came out and joined us today.
Turn your stress into success. You can do it. We're here to help.
Yep, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it. I am Prof Sales.
And I'm Kaaren saying good sales to you.